Good morning. Betsy Carr here with the Subcommittee, Transportation Infrastructure and Funding Subcommittee. First, we'll take roll, please. Clerk will open the roll. Clerk, close the roll. We have a quorum. This is a busy time of year, and we have several people that need to be 5 places at once, so I'm going to call on Delegate Waxman to present his bill. Delegate, please tell us about your bill, what it does, and why we need it.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 2254, there's actually a substitute that we have today, and I think we've got the hard copy for you.
So we need to move the substitute?
Yes, ma'am. Move the substitute.
All right. Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2254 is a sign bill. We have a small town in my district, Waverly, and they had an electronic digital sign that was on the side of a building. The sign was approximately 4 by 8, and the VDOT inspector came by and cited them because they did not have their $500 annual licensure fee for that sign because it falls underneath the Beautification Act, which we thought was a little bit strange because it was on a 2-lane road. Originally, my bill was to cut that annual fee down, but in meeting with VDOT officials, they've erases that fee. There's 2 fees involved. There's a small fee where VDOT comes out and permits the sign, and then it's a small annual fee, and then there's a larger fee that's the license that recurs every year. And for these small towns that need this, VDOT, it's my understanding, looked and it was just more efficient for them to get rid of the second fee and just go with the 1 permitting fee each year.
So this is a VDOT recommendation, Delegate?
The substitute is their recommendation, yes, ma'am.
All right. Any questions, members of the committee?
Madam Chair, I have a question. Explain the fee to me. What happens with the fee?
There's 2 fees. One's a permit and one's a license. One is they go out and inspect and make sure that the sign is appropriately there and they can have it. And then there was a second one that they paid each year as well too.
And what were those fees?
The first one is variable. It's anywhere from like $50 to $150 a year. The other one was $500, and that didn't matter if you had a lot of signs or you only had 1 sign. Originally, I was going to try to make it for a $100 fee if you only had 1 and $500 for multiple signs. And once again, the agency came back and said, for efficiency's sake, they realized they could get rid of that larger fee. It turned out it was only bringing about $45,000 a year to the state, which is some money. But when they looked at what it was taking them to manage that part, it seemed to be more efficient just to go with the smaller fees.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Can we have VDOT talk to us about this, please?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, Joanne Maxwell from VDOT. We, after looking at Delegate Waxman's bill, we felt like in an effort to increase efficiencies, we just would basically retain our current permitting fee, which is directly tied to each sign. So for every sign that an entity has in the Commonwealth, outdoor advertising sign, we already charge a permit fee, and again, that permit fee is dependent on the size of the sign. We had the licensing program just to acknowledge, or in essence, acknowledge or license those entities that were outdoor advertisers in the Commonwealth. That fee was $500 a year, regardless of whether the advertiser had 1 sign, 40 signs. So we felt like the licensing program was just there was no added value, and it was costing man hours. So we felt like the more targeted and direct approach to collecting fees for these signs and monitoring and supervising these signs, inspecting, was just to continue with the permit program. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Any questions? Delegate Watts.
If VDOT representative could stay here. I just thank you for calling her forward. That's an important explanation. But I want to make sure now that there's nobody that's grandfathered with a license who believes that they can go ahead based on our current code. Now that the license aspect was taken out of the code, do we need to grandfather anybody?
No, Madam Chair, because basically what will still remain is the permitting program. And that permitting program, every year, they are required to renew the permit for each sign that they have. And so as a result, they will continue to be, their signs will be monitored, and that's really what we are needing to regulate, are the signs by the sides of the highway. We have to make sure that they're in good state of repair, they're not falling down, they're not creating hazards. So the licensure will not in any way impact any entity that has signs. We will continue to regulate them through the permits that they have for each individual sign.
Thank you. Delegate? All right. Anyone else, any questions? Anyone to?
Madam Chair.
Delegate Austin.
VDOT, so am I understanding correctly that this is a fee, one fee for regardless of how many signs, or is it a fee for each sign?
No, the license fee is one-time fee regardless of how many signs you have.
Does that include billboard signs?
I beg your pardon?
Does that include billboard signs?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
What a
but-
bargain. Yeah, what a bargain. So, all right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments, questions from the committee members? Anyone to speak in favor of this bill? I believe we have someone online, Mr. Scott Filling? Scott Filling?
Yes, ma'am. No, I'm online for a couple other bills, not this one. I have nothing to say about this one. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone to speak in opposition to this bill? Committee moves by motion. There is no motion. Mr. Delegate.
Move to report.
Second.
Are you asking for a motion?
Yeah.
I apologize. Yes, ma'am, move to report.
All right.
Second.
With the substitute.
Yes, ma'am, move to report with substitute.
All right. Clerk will open the roll, and we will vote on HB 2254 with substitute.
See, we're about to sleep through it.
Clerk will close the roll. The bill, Delegate Roxman, your bill 2254 votes out 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and I'd also like to just express my appreciation for VDOT working with me on this bill. Thank you.
Delegate Fagans, you have HB 1651, which we heard last week, I believe.
Yes, we did, Madam Chair. So after working with VDOT over the past few months and trying to find a potential solution with the short time frame of the session, I believe that this issue would need additional studying. I want to thank our constituents who brought this issue forward. I think we've made great progress in terms of potentially finding ways for constituents to be able to elevate these issues of sound walls potentially not being provided in their areas, to provide not only just sound protection but also environmental and health protections. With that, I would ask respectfully if it would be amenable if the chair would be willing to send a letter to VDOT on this issue.
Thank you. We have one person online that we need to hear from, I believe. Scott Fillings.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for this time to speak, Delegate Carr. I support this bill, HB 1615. The reason I support it is I've been involved with many of my citizens here in Fauquier County, specifically regarding Route 17 and other connecting side roads between the towns of Marshall and Warrenton, Virginia. We've been complaining for years about the problem with noise, not just normal road traffic noise, but where it is purposely done to be much more loud and obnoxious and harassing towards other drivers and citizens. So I'd like to comment that this bill, while it may be talking about sound wall barriers, that's a nice option. There's ways to more directly, with a noise analysis study, go directly towards, if you will, certain people, such as automobile drivers or tractor trailer drivers who modify their exhaust systems to be overly and purposely very loud and harassing towards citizens who are driving the speed limit, obeying the speed limit, and or living in their homes or businesses, where it is creating vast, dramatic sound unnecessarily. It is like a caveman mentality that needs to go away. And just putting up sound wall barriers, while that may work in certain areas, other areas like this can be mitigated through other noise analysis, so other laws, and police enforcement can step in to stop it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Those in favor or those opposed to this bill? All right, we've had a suggestion that this might be laid on the table and sent with a letter to the commissioner.
Chair, I'll move that we gently let the bill on the table, and you, the chair, send a letter to the commissioner encouraging to continue.
This will be a recorded vote. Clerk will please open the roll. Doesn't like it.
I'm sorry.
Doesn't like us this morning. All right, we'll do a voice vote. All right.
Delegate Watts,
Aye.
please repeat.
Aye.
Delegate Reed,
Aye.
Delegate Glass.
Aye.
Delegate Anthony.
Aye.
Delegate Austin.
Aye.
Delegate Wyatt. Delegate Mildy.
Carr.
Delegate Carr.
Aye.
8.
Clerk will close the roll. The bill is tabled 8-0 with the motion to have the letter sent to the commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Subcommittee and Madam Chair, for working on this issue with us.
Okay. Delegate Cousins is here or not? All right. Delegate Lovejoy. Can you tell us about your bill, 2324, what it does and why we need it?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee. HB 2324 is a bill that it was requested by the Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission, PRTC, to expand the localities and entities with which transportation district commissions may enter into contracts or agreements to provide transit facilities and services and other modes of transportation. PRTC has been around since 1986 and provides daily transportation to residents of Prince William County, Spotsylvania, Stafford, Fredericksburg, Manassas, and Manassas Park. In 2023, the system had a ridership of 1.6 million per weekday. Yes. The bill would extend PRTC's highly successful OmniRide commuter bus service to Warrenton and Front Royal areas and build the local and regional economy, ease congestion, and preserve or improve regional air quality by reducing congestion. Population growth has boomed along the I-66 and U.S. Route 29 corridors. There is growing demand for commuter service in this region to help those folks get to their jobs in Washington, D.C. and surrounding areas. It comes as no surprise that traffic congestion is a large problem in these areas, and it's important to take efforts to reduce the number of vehicles on the roads. This legislation is important to ensure expanded authority to this needed service such that it does not expire at the end of this biannual budget. There is no fiscal impact. And we do have representatives of PRTC here to speak more directly to the bill.
All right. First, are there any questions of the committee members? All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Dr. Bob Schneider. I'm the Executive Director of the Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission. Good to see you all this morning. Thank you to Delegate Lovejoy for patroning this legislation for us. We're a public transportation agency, and we provide services not just in Prince William County, but also in order for our residents to get into Washington, D.C., Arlington, Alexandria, et cetera. And as I-66 and US 29, the services have grown, we've had increased demand along the outlying corridors. We're known for some of the worst congestion in the country. And so what this allows us to do is provide a variety of travel options for our residents and businesses within our community. The legislation before you just expands the localities in which we can operate. Last year, as Northern Virginia grows, we see demand for commuter service, and there's a desire to expand to the areas of Warrenton and Front Royal. And last year, we had budget language to expand included in the budget bill. However, that does expire with the current budget bill. What this does is this legislation will allow us to continue to operate these services that are currently operating out of Warrenton and Front Royal now, and continue to reduce car congestion and emissions on the rapidly growing US 29 and I-66 corridor. I hope you will vote to approve this bill, and once again, we thank the patron for adding this legislation for us. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Questions from committee members?
Yes.
Delegate Reed.
So can you help me understand, is there was no service before, there's no overlap with another commission or providing service?
Madam Chair, Mr. Delegate, yes, that is correct. There was no other existing service. Pre-pandemic, there was a route that was operated by a private contractor that closed down due to the pandemic. So we partnered with the Shenandoah Regional Commission to evaluate what type of ridership growth there would be, and then worked with DRPT to actually fund the services. But there's no other entity providing public transportation services in those areas.
And a follow-up question, Madam Chair?
Delegate.
Yeah, I know because I sit on NVTC that there has been a difficulty in returning to pre-pandemic levels as far as transportation. How utilized are these routes?
Madam Chair, Mr. Delegate, these are brand new. They started in December. And so we're already seeing ridership increases since that December timeframe. We already had a ridership base that was driving in from Front Royal to our Gainesville University Park and Ride lot on the I-66 corridor. If you're familiar with the Gainesville area, there's a very large park and ride lot called the University lot. It's directly adjacent to one of the off-ramps for the I-66 toll lanes. So in conversations with our passengers, we already knew people were traveling up to 35 to 40 miles just to get on board a vehicle. So the combination of existing passenger base plus recruiting new passenger base allowed us to have growing ridership consistently.
Delegate?
Yes.
Any other questions? Any other questions, comments, committee members? All right, anyone to speak in favor of this bill? Anyone to speak in opposition?
Madam Chair, I move to report.
Second.
Madam Chair, I have an alternate motion to lay this on the table.
All right. Clerk will open the roll. Voting to lay 2324 on the table.
That's right.
Clerk will close the roll. Clerk, close the roll, and the motion to table 2324 passes 5-3.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the
Thank you,
committee.
Delegate Munden King, I see you. Thank you, Delegate. Tell us about 2368, what it does, and why we need it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start with asking members of the committee, what would you do with an extra $500 or $600 each month? That's a question that people who live in the 23rd District in Prince William County and Stafford County often ask themselves, because those are some of the costs that people are paying to pick up their children from school, to go to work, to go to the doctor. And so 2368 is a bill that I think takes a significant step towards improving our toll system. At the heart of this bill is a monthly cap of $200 on toll fees for Virginia residents. If you live along the 95 corridor, you'll see that so many people from all across the country enjoy our corridor to go on vacation, and those people are paying, but Virginians are paying much more because we're required to use them every day. So this would introduce a $200 toll cap for Virginians, as well as streamline and provide some flexibility for those who receive public assistance. So those people who are fighting to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and go to work every day and receiving assistance from the government and facing these tolls and fees that often have become a very heavy budget line for most families. So there's a great need for this. My community is at the end of the 95 expressway, and often if I'm driving from the Pentagon to Dumfries, it will be about maybe $45. To go an additional mile and a half down the road to Stafford can often cost an additional $25. And so the cost, the up and down, being unable to plan for your toll expenses is really creating a heavy burden on Virginia families. And I'm happy to answer questions, but I hope the committee will act favorably upon this legislation.
Thank you, Delegate. Questions from members of the committee? I have a clarifying question. So people need to pay these toll, there's no free lane right next to the toll?
Yes, Madam Chair. So if you have 3 individuals, so prior to the pandemic, I was what is known as a slug. And a slug goes, I know this is very, for those outside of Northern Virginia, this is going to shock you. But you go to the parking lot early in the morning and you stand in line and you wait for a stranger to pick you and another person up so that you have 3 people to ride down these toll roads and you can go into the district or into the Pentagon or into DC for free if you have 3 or more people. The other options on 95, you can use the main road, which takes a 30-minute ride into an hour and a half ride. You can try Route 1, which is about 2.5 hours to go 20 miles up the road. So there are options, but for most people, they really aren't tenable.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. Delegate Reed.
I think Delegate Watts had a question or a comment.
Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And actually, I was trying to think about whether I do it now or later. I printed off the fiscal impact statement on this, and there's a lot of questions raised about administration. So that is something that I need to, as I glance down at, there's some serious ways in which, how do we tell on TANF and whatnot. But before I ask for that, I also have to confess that I've been at this particular for a long time. The express lanes were put in, and HOV lanes inside the Beltway from when we first moved to Northern Virginia became more and more critical because we were an air control non-attainment area. And this became, in the sprawl of the Stream Valley suburbia that we all have, became a way for people, that's the slug line, goes back decades and decades, to carpool, vanpool, and it meant that we had fewer vehicles on the road, helping congestion and air pollution. And so when the express lanes were put in, that's where the riding free. So with all of that preface, I will say I checked before the pandemic and was told that half of the people riding those express lanes are riding free. They're being paid for by those who pay the toll. I checked, I think it was about 9 months ago, to see whether this was still true because of the differences in remote workplace, et cetera, and it is still true. So I have a real concern in that keeping these lanes viable have a lot of at stake in air pollution and reducing congestion, while making sure that we always have ways to make people ride free. And there, we need more park and ride lots. We need more places for slug lanes. And I wish that the express lanes operators would construct more, pay the money out of these tolls for that, to allow a lot of more lower income people working regular hours to use them that can slug.
Thank you, Delegate.
Sorry for the holding forth.
And, Madam Chair, if I could just quickly say to the other Madam Chair that indeed more people are returning to work in the Northern Virginia community, especially there's been from the new president a move to push people to come into the office. But honestly, we're asking those with the least to pay the most. I take the express lanes exclusively because I can afford to. Most of my neighbors cannot. And so paying for other people to ride who have the time to wait for a slug, who even have, access to go get to the lot. I just think that the least of these amongst us are paying a greater deal than the rest of us.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Reed.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I just want to say that I can't empathize with you more, because I think for the 8 years I've been here, 7 of those years I have brought some piece of legislation to provide toll relief to folks on the Dulles Greenway, which is only in Loudoun County. And Madam Chair here sitting next to me was actually the Secretary of Transportation at the time in 1988 when it became law. So I'm very much empathetic with what it is that you're trying to achieve. And I get the fact that it's like you talk to constituents about $200, $500, or $700 a month that they're spending in tolls, and then you start talking to businesses about how much they're spending. So it's a lot of money. And I guess the question that I was trying to find here is, I think it looks like that in the fiscal impact statement that this might be $110 million annually. Is that what you're seeing and what you've read in the response that you got back from the fiscal impact statement?
So, Madam Chair, if I could, I would say I too was concerned by the high number of the fiscal impact, because the roads in my community are part of a public-private partnership, including a company that was valued at $50 billion last year, which is, I believe, 10, 15 times even our own rainy day fund, and a company that had nearly $3 billion in earnings just last year in the U.S. So I was concerned about the high number along with the fiscal impact as well, but I did see that, Madam Chair, to answer the delegate.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee members? Anyone to speak in favor of this bill?
Hi, Rena Hicks with Freedom Virginia. We strongly support this bill. We believe in a fair and affordable economy, and a key part of that is for the millions of Virginians, especially Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads where I live, where water literally separates cities. We need to ensure fair prices on toll roads. Corporations are price gouging people for literally driving to work, school, and the grocery store. Hope you pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments in favor of this bill? Anyone in opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, David Skiles with the Vector Corporation representing Transurban. And let me first say I would never call you a slug. Obviously, we have some concerns with this legislation. I think, as most folks know, express lanes are dynamically tolled. Federal highway regulations require that we maintain a minimum average speed in the corridor, and that is the reason that the toll prices vary. Another point to be made, and Delegate Reed, you spoke about the annual costs of this. Obviously, there are concession agreements that have been signed for a very long period of time, and so this would factor into the financing model for those private operators. But importantly, as you know, sir, serving on NVTC, I-66 inside the Beltway tolls are directly tied to the financing for Long Bridge. Transurban, as part of our agreement for 395, writes a annual transit subsidy to NVTC for the I-395-95 corridor to fund projects such as Park and Rides. I-66 has a similar relationship with NVTC. And so all of this starts to become very complicated in the financing model. And as we have talked about, certainly we understand the toll prices vary based on congestion in the corridor. But as you pointed out, Madam Chair, there is a free option, which is somewhat different than what you see in other areas like Hampton Roads. And while I certainly recognize the patrons' comments about Transurban's fiscal strength, I think it's important to recognize that at a time when the Commonwealth didn't have any revenue for transportation, the private sector stepped in and funded $4.5 billion worth of construction for the 495 express lanes. And so P3 model is not always the solution, but when you talk about mega projects and making sure that we can build express lanes and improve our highway corridors, it's certainly a model that works in some cases.
Thank you. Any other comments in opposition to the bill? Delegate, would you like to have the last word here?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I want to say that, the folks at Transurban and I have been in conversation about numerous ways to make this bill work and to find alternative ways to bring relief to my constituents. And I'm happy to continue those conversations. I will say I'll agree with the gentleman from Transurban, this is complicated, but I believe that a company that can scan my license plate and send me a bill without me ever giving them any information can certainly figure it out. So thank you, Madam Chair and members of committee.
Thank you. Any other comments? Committee moves by motion.
Madam Chair, for many of the reasons that we've discussed, and again, I know that this is so very important to your constituents and so very important to many other constituents across the Commonwealth, and I know that you want to do the best for them, but I think that we need to refer this to appropriations just to be able to address the fiscal impact of it. I think we have a fiduciary responsibility for that, and I know that oftentimes things can go to appropriations and maybe the staff can find something creative. And so, Madam Chair, my motion is to report and refer to appropriations.
Is there a second? We have to vote. No, we have to report.
Okay.
Report and refer to appropriations.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Austin.
Speaking to the bill.
Delegate Austin.
Yes, Madam Chair, I certainly understand the patrons' concerns here, but my concerns are if appropriations were to do this, we're now spreading the cost all across the Commonwealth, not just for the people who live in the corridor. It's a $100 million cost annually. But I think, Delegate, you've answered some of the concerns of how we fund VDOT going forward. If this corporation private entity has $50 billion in capital, maybe we should start constructing our roads of the same nature. So we certainly don't have those monies. But, we've entered into a contract here. We have an obligation, and people who use that road, in my opinion, are the people who should have to pay for it, not everyone within the Commonwealth. So, Delegate, I appreciate you bringing the bill. I have compassion for you and everyone who lives up there. It's tough to get around, so trust me, I know that. I would be a slug if I were up there, I promise you that. So thank you, Delegate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
we have a motion on the to report and refer to appropriations. Clerk will open the roll. Maybe. All right, we're going to take a voice vote. The motion is to report the bill and refer to appropriations.
Delegate Watts?
Aye.
Delegate Reed?
Aye.
Delegate Glass? Aye. Delegate Anthony? Delegate Austin? Delegate Wyatt?
No.
Delegate Mildy?
Aye.
Delegate Carr? Chairman
Aye.
Carr.
Clerk will close the roll.
5-3.
The bill reports to appropriations 5-3. Thank you,
so
Delegate.
much. Thank you. Six to two.
6-2. because Mildy voted for it.
Oh, we did vote for
Yeah.
it. My apology.
All right, we have two bills left, no, three. Delegate Cousins.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
Delegate Cousins.
Yes.
We have 2234, which you have brought before us. Tell us what this bill does and why we need it.
Thank you. So this introduced piece of legislation, what's currently in the code, states that members of Virginia's transportation authorities will not be held personally liable if the Commonwealth's Transportation Trust Fund loses money in the course of its investments. So as introduced, this bill will add the Central Virginia Transportation Authority to the list of authorities that are already covered under this code section. And the bill also clarifies that this limitation on personal liability extends after a member is no longer serving on or employed by the Transportation Authority.
Thank you. Questions? I have a clarifying question. Did this come up, or was there a certain instance that brought this the issue of this bill up?
This came up. So it's I serve on the Central Virginia Transportation Authority, the CVTA, and so they asked me to introduce this bill.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Questions from members of the committee? All right, anyone to speak in favor? Delegate Reed.
Delegate Cousins, I'm just curious because I serve on NVTC but not NVTA. Do the other transportation authorities that we have around the Commonwealth have a similar thing in their code
So this
section?
covers, Section B includes the other transportation authorities that this covers. So the Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission, Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, and others.
Okay, so it just adds it to the code section that covers the other ones as well. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I understand now. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Delegate Reed. Delegate Austin.
Madam Chair, so you're adding one, is that what you're doing, Delegate Cousins?
Yes, just adding the Central Virginia Transportation Authority to this list here.
And they will have no liability because they're
Personally, no personal liability.
personal.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you,
Just
Delegate.
with, making investments
Yes, ma'am.
on
Thank
behalf
you.
of the Transportation Authority.
Understood.
All right, any more? All right, anyone to speak in favor of this bill?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Chad Parsons, I'm the Executive Director of the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. I appreciate the opportunity to appear with you this morning, and I just wanted to lend my support for Delegate Cousins' request. I, as much as possible, like to highlight the collaborative and cooperative nature of our local elected officials serving on this authority, and this added protection to add our new authority to the recognition of the NVTA and HR TAC just goes to show that our members are doing the job that they are supposed to do, and taking those actions to best represent our region. So I'd lend my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of HB 2234? Anyone to speak in opposition to 2234? All right, committee moves by motion.
Madam Chair, move to report.
Second.
Clerk will open the roll. We're having electronic stuff again. All right, let's go have a voice vote, please. We're voting on 2234. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Delegate Watts.
Aye.
Delegate Reed.
Aye.
Delegate Glass. Delegate Anthony. Delegate Austin. Delegate Wyatt. Delegate Mildy. Chairman Carr.
Aye. Clerk, close the roll. The bill reports 8-0. Thank you, Delegate Cousins. Next, we have House Bill 2464, Delegate Higgins. All right, remind me. Delegate Higgins, welcome. Thank you. Can you tell us about 2464, what it does, and why we need it?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. I have HB 2464 before you, for which I have 2 amendments, and I'd ask to move the amendments.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. The amendments addresses some physical impact concerns and combines this bill solely to address the VDOT removal of Tree of Heaven within the right-of-way. The amendment also removes the words digging up so that VDOT can use the proper method to remove the Tree of Heaven, which is cutting it down and then spraying or painting it with herbicide at its base to prevent regrowth. I'm bringing this on behalf of many constituents and businesses in my district who are dealing with the serious negative financial impacts of this invasive species, in particular Tree of Heaven, as it brings spotted lanternflies, which destroy grapes at our wineries and countless other plants. Currently, VDOT is simply just cutting back the Tree of Heaven, which actually causes it to spread further. This would help remove the plant permanently and help stop the destruction of our wineries and agritourism, which is the backbone of our district. Loudoun County is the #1 county in the state for agritourism. I hope that you will support this bill and pass it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions, committee members?
Madam Chair, I do have...
Delegate Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question. Do we have any idea how much this would cost? I mean, I'm really very sympathetic to the issue in Loudoun County, but I think the way that this is written is that it would apply across the Commonwealth. So do we have any fiscal impact on what this would cost?
Well, I think, Madam Chair,
Delegate.
I think Delegate Reed, the amendments address those issues. Initially, they were talking about cutting it off and digging it out, which would have added expenses. In this case, they cut it and you just spray it with a herbicide and move on. And I don't think either of those are things that are outside of the daily jurisdiction of what VDOT's doing in the right-of-ways.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Reed.
And I appreciate that. And again, I'm just, because I know that I've had the discussions with the folks in eastern Loudoun County on invasive species in general. And at times it seems like the number that I've been told that would just be necessary to address eastern Loudoun County would be $12 million. So I'm just apprehensive about what this would cost across the entire Commonwealth.
Delegate.
Madam Chair, $12 million to deal with Tree of Heaven? Oh, well, I haven't heard that. Thank you.
If we got someone from VDOT to talk to us about this. And I must say, Delegate Higgins, when I've gone door to door, I've had constituents complaining about Tree of Heaven to me in Richmond, Virginia. Delegate.
Madam Chair, Joanne Maxwell from VDOT. With regard to the question about costs, with the original bill, what that bill would have done, we had concerns it added 103 species in essence to the various species that VDOT would then have to be digging up, et cetera. We have not seen the amendments, and so I'm not in a position at this point. But with regard to the prior bill, the costs were indeterminate. We knew they were going to be significant. I don't know what we could do other than go back and look at these costs for a particular species. But at this point, I just don't have enough information to opine on the costs.
Madam Chair, question.
Delegate Austin.
Yes. Ms. Joanne, is there not a herbicide that VDOT can use to eliminate the growth or to kill the root of these trees?
Mr. Chair, again, Madam Chair, Delegate Austin, at this point, I don't know enough, and we've not looked at the Tree of Heaven. I understand what the species is, but we've not looked at it, so I don't know. You know, we are careful about the herbicides that we do use, and so we'd have to go back and look at that, evaluate that.
Understood, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Delegate Watts?
If you could please report the amended language. The language in the bill as introduced said establish and implement a policy for. does the amended language that we approve still contain that language and apply it only to Tree of Heaven?
The amended language in line 19 says, "The board shall establish and implement policy for identifying and destroying on any state highway right-of-way, regardless of whether such a plant was planted or caused to be planted by the Board of Commissioners of Highways." The specific plant is named, is it line 20?
That it is the other language that I was concerned needed. What if that is the language that we're dealing with, to a policy for identifying and destroying? It doesn't mandate that, in fact, except as the policy has been adopted, then we will know more about cost. We could have a delayed effective date on this, but we also could just know that actual destroying is going to be sometime in the future, and there will be cost issues brought to us at that time.
Thank you, Delegate Watts. All right, Delegate, there was somebody else. Well, all right, thanks. Just a clarifying question for VDOT. Can you tell us basically what the policy is about invasive plants now, how you deal with them, so forth?
Madam Chair, we do have a program where we maintain and right now the particular species of plants that are listed in the code or in that section. We have a program where we maintain and eradicate those plants that are currently listed, et cetera. At this point, I can't really say how this would alter our program or whether, what we have currently rises to the level of a policy per se. So I would need to take this back and take a look at that one plant and the way this bill has been modified, the addition of one plant. We just have to look at it.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions from committee members? All right. Anyone to speak in favor of this bill in the audience? Anyone in opposition? And I believe we have someone online. Mr. Scott Filling?
Yes, thank you, Delegate Carr, for this opportunity to speak. I do support this bill. Where I live in Fauquier County, which is very near Loudoun County, where we have a huge number of grape growing industries. And so this Tree of Heaven, along with being other invasive species, it would need to be taken care of properly. And just from a homeowner who's been very involved over the years, 24 years of living in Fauquier County, and me having to eradicate certain species on my 4-acre property, that there are other ways how to do things more, I'll say, costly than maybe VDOT is fully aware of and applying, and not necessarily having to physically dig them up. There are many herbicides you can spray that will actually go right down to the root and kill it off. Now, of course, you have to keep in mind environmental side effects. Certain herbicides are very dangerous that could get into watersheds, waterways, well water, things like that. And of course, we never want that. It just makes the problem worse. But I'll just state that as this is a topic that needs to be addressed, and I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for testifying. Anyone else in support of this bill? Anyone in opposition? Delegate Watts.
I'm sorry.
Delegate Reed.
Madam Chair, at the proper time, I have a motion.
That would be the time.
Okay, thanks very much. This is clearly an issue that we need to address, but I think what we've heard from the testimony from VDOT and from others is that there's just too many unknowns right now with how this approach would work. So I'd like to make a motion that we table the legislation.
A motion has been made to table the legislation. Clerk will open the roll.
I'm afraid we're going to have to do this.
All right, we will once again go back to the good old days.
Delegate Watts?
Yes.
Delegate Reed?
Aye.
Delegate Glass? Aye. Delegate Anthony? Aye. Delegate Austin? No. Delegate Wyatt? Aye. Delegate Mildy? No. Delegate Carr?
Aye. Clerk will close the roll. The bill is laid on the table 6-2. Thank you so much, Delegate Higgins.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
We have one last bill from a committee member here. Delegate Glass. All right. Thank you, Delegate Glass. You have 2466. Can you tell us what it does and why we need it?
Gratitude, Madam Chair. First, I have a substitute, and I'd like to move the substitute, or I can't move it. Gratitude.
Second? All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, Delegate Glass.
Right, so what the substitute does is adds in language that says also applies. Can you hear me? Sorry, I'll come a little closer. It adds language about maintenance and then removes the 0.3 of a penny tax. And I'll talk a little bit about that in my bill presentation.
All right.
I really want to cut to the chase here. Hampton Roads, it's growing and it's also drowning. Our roads are slinking, they're flooding, they're crumbling, and we've made some significant investments. Meanwhile, the price tag, it continues to rise. So that's where this bill comes in, House Bill 2466. This is about making smoother commutes by taking a look at opportunities with our primary and secondary roads, as well as our roads affected by coastal resiliency and flooding. Because at some point, as a region, we have to look at how we protect not only our homes, our businesses, our military bases, the Port of Virginia, from becoming waterlogged casualties of neglect, while also creating pathways to sustain with the transportation decisions that we've made for economic growth. So what you have before you is hopefully saving roads from turning into rivers. The bill creates the Hampton Roads Highway Coastal Resiliency Program so we can stop treating flooded roads like an act of God and start treating them like solvable infrastructure problems. Because again, folks in my community are losing streets, they're losing the opportunity to get to work, they're losing vehicles, and entire communities are trapped just because it rains. Secondly, what we do is we're fixing some things that may have been broken for quite a bit of time, as well as opening up opportunity for growth. It creates the Hampton Roads Interstate Highway Corridor Improvement Program, which gives us a real shot. Gives Hampton Roads a real shot at tackling almost $3 billion with the B backlog of unfunded transportation projects. Again, fixing choke points, making sure rush hour doesn't feel like a hostage situation, and making sure that roads are actually can support the people, the goods, the military movements that depend on them. Lastly, I want to go to the funding aspect. There's a quote I read said that the hardest decisions are the ones that define us. We have to make bold moves. There are sometimes no guarantees, just the certainty that we deserve better. This is negotiated, it's fought for, and it's claimed. And I believe Hampton Roads is worth it. We have to find a way to fund this. I brought forth a 0.3 of a penny tax increase on Planning District 26 as a way to really get the conversation started that we're serious about this. Much respect to my colleagues in Northern Virginia, because somehow they managed to make it work. Somehow they managed to get the things that they need, and I think Hampton Roads deserves that level of credit and opportunity as well. So we could possibly get in the Hampton Roads community fixes to Hampton Boulevard, our Independence interchange, which is maddening. Route 17 from Chesapeake to Suffolk to the Isle of Wight. The James River Bridge, Jefferson Avenue, this is all things that impact the economic mobility of our region. We deserve it. The Commonwealth deserves it. So the bottom line is we're not talking about a luxury. We're talking about the survival for one of the most important regions in Virginia. The HRTPO unanimously backed the plan because they know what's at stake. So we either have the opportunity to pass the bill and get to work, or we can keep watching our roads disappear along with our economic stability, our safety, and lastly, our sanity. So my hope is that we get the fund established. I'm not necessarily in the business of creating a fund without getting funding, but I'm going to keep working on it. And I'm hopeful that the stakeholders that I've talked to that are not in the business of bold moves, are in the business of collaboration and taking steps forward to actually figure out how we can not just say we support our region, but put the dollars and cents behind it. And that is my presentation.
Thank you, Delegate. Any questions from members of the committee? All right.
Madam Chair,
Delegate Austin.
question for the delegate. Delegate, do you know how much money this will generate annually?
$81 million.
I'm sorry,
$81 million if we had the tax in there, but I've removed it. Madam Chair, my apologies. Madam Chair, Delegate Austin, it would generate, I hope I'm saying that right, approximately $81 million, costing each household about $48 a year if we did the 0.3 of a penny. But that has been the hang up, and I recognize the political implications of doing that in an election year and all those things, but I think to boldly say that's what we need is what we need to do, and I'm hopeful we can negotiate as this bill moves forward to try to figure out where to get that funding, even if it's not the 0.3 of a penny.
Thank you, Delegate.
Delegate Austin.
Thank you.
What else? Anyone to speak in favor of this in the audience? Thank you. Step forward and identify yourself, please.
Hello, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Bob Crum. I am the Executive Director of the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission and the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization. And on behalf of my organization and the 17 local governments in the Hampton Roads region, I want to sincerely thank Delegate Glass for her leadership on this bill. In Hampton Roads, it's been over 10 years ago now that the General Assembly took action that created an extra sales and use tax and an extra gasoline tax in the Hampton Roads region. And over the last several years, we have constructed or are in the process of building almost $6 billion of interstate highway transportation improvements around the Hampton Roads region. And we're getting close to getting those all finished. Hopefully around mid-2027, they will all be completed. But our challenge now is that our traffic is going to move very efficiently around our interstate system, but it's going to start making its way to those primary and secondary roads that are parallel to that interstate system. As the delegate mentioned, in our planning work, we have identified over $3 billion of regional need for projects off of our interstate system. And as you all know, the costs for these projects are escalating at 10 to 12% per year. So we would like to take the same approach that we have done to upgrade our interstate highway system in Hampton Roads and apply that same strategy to our primary and secondary roads. And Delegate Glass's bill would really set the framework to allow us to do that. So, Madam Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity, and Delegate Glass, thank you again for your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, it appears that the speak buttons are not working now either.
All right. Wave me down.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Gretchen Heel with the Hampton Roads Chamber. We are in full support of Delegate Glass's original bill and any amendments she makes to it. Our region is in desperate need of support just to get truck traffic down Hampton Boulevard. We've got the James River Bridge, which is coming up on 45 years old. It needs repairs. When it floods in her district in downtown, in Delegate Anthony's district in downtown Norfolk, if you haven't left certain buildings, you are locked in for the hours it takes for that to relieve itself. The flood wall they're talking about building is not going to fix that. I have a colleague who had gotten trapped in her apartment building because the floodgates went up and she couldn't get her car out until it was resolved. For the business community, it represents a small investment to get a large amount of cost savings. We have members who are small businesses, HVAC companies, that $100 an hour for their technician to sit in traffic, and often a 20-minute commute in our region can take an hour and a half to 2 hours. We're turning into Northern Virginia a little bit. So we are in full support of Delegate Glass's bill, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any buttons to push down here? All right. On this side, Delegate Watts.
Thank you, and I really have appreciated Delegate Glass' informal conversation on this bill as how do these things evolve? But as I listen to the discussion, I would just pass on to everyone who's trying to work out what's right for Planning District 23, that in our situation in Northern Virginia, we worked out fairly early on that 30% of the regional revenue that the General Assembly authorized went back to localities based on where it was raised. So that there, when I hear primary and secondary road needing to be addressed, that is the stream of funding that in our structure would have gone that direction, while I realize that as the Hampton Roads Authority came about, the strong need was the challenge that the region has in crossing bodies of water and all that involves with also the toll financing. And then the final wrap that I will say as we try to work out regionally what works is we heard all about express lanes in Northern Virginia. That toll on express lanes became one way of moving as many people as possible and as few vehicles as possible. So each of us have taken these components, but I do recognize that what Delegate Glass is addressing in her bill, that because of your current structure, you don't have the flexibility that was built into years of negotiation amongst the Northern Virginia jurisdictions that ended up in the 30-70 split.
Thank you. Delegate Reed.
I have nothing to add to what Delegate Watts.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Delegate Mildy.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Delegate Glass. I think he referenced, the leader of the MPO referenced 17 member localities. Or I'm just wondering, have those boards voted to some degree on whether or not they want this new tax?
So do you want to take the question? I can take it if you want. Oh, you represent. You can take it.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Delegate, if I may. So at my boards, the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission and Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization, the representatives of those local jurisdictions endorse the idea of the creation of a primary and secondary road fund. Now, they identified a number of options, and as Delegate Anthony will know, that could be explored. And we look forward to working with Delegate Glass to continue to explore the best way to fund those items. But they did take a vote at our regional boards in favor. Yes.
Thank you,
Madam
Delegate Mildy.
If I may.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, and if I may elaborate, Madam Chair, on that, is I don't think anyone in the district, planning district disagrees that we need to get the fund going. We need to set a structure up. The unfortunate thing was they left it to the General Assembly to figure out. So essentially, and no shade here, no, essentially they said, hey, can you guys do this? We can't figure out how we're going to get the money together. Not figure out. No one has the direct straight path and put it in our hands. And I came to the table with the boldest move. I'm just being honest with you. I said, well, we'll do 3/10 of a penny. We'll start negotiating from there. Hopefully in good faith that maybe we would get our folks on the executive branch side and speaking with the Secretary of Transportation, some folks that have some wisdom to help guide us to fund. It is that serious. It is that serious that we've got to get it to work. These projects are increasing every year, about 14 to 15% in increase in project costs. So yes, not every locality was okay with the 3/10 of a penny, but I think it was important to say that it's serious enough that we need the players at the table to get this done for the Hampton Roads region.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from members
Madam
of the committee?
Chair,
We'll take opposition.
Right.
Madam Chair, at the right time, I'd like to make a motion.
All right. We hear anyone in opposition to this bill in the audience? All right, Delegate Reed.
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to report the legislation as amended or as a substitute?
Substitute.
Substitute.
Substitute. Second? All right, all in favor? Motion's been made, so we'll go to the board and maybe voice vote again?
Voice vote.
All right.
Delegate Watts?
Yes.
Delegate Reed?
Aye.
Delegate Glass? Aye. Delegate Anthony? Aye. Delegate Austin? No. Delegate Wyatt? No. Delegate Mildy? No. Delegate Chairman Carr?
Aye.
5-3.
The bill reports 5-3. Thank you, Delegate Glass. I believe there's no other business to come before the committee, so the committee is adjourned.